We all know that the crypto contagion for the past few months has been absolutely massive, from things like Celsius to Voyager and BlockFi, FTX, and many others. But there's rumors circulating now that Binance might be the next one to crumble. Now, Binance being the #1 exchange, having tons of money, it would be probably a pretty difficult thing to see it crumble, but definitely not impossible, as Binance is not some super clean exchange. But even looking at just what's happening right now, Binance is seeing mass withdrawals on their exchange, with CZ pointing out that they have seen some withdrawals, about $1.14 billion worth. We've seen this before. Some days we have net withdrawals, some we have net deposits. Business as usual for us. I think it's a good idea to stress test withdrawals on each SEX on a rotating base. So SEX, CEX means centralized exchange. And it probably is a good idea to stress test people, because obviously, if you can't withstand people taking their money off, then you're probably not a very good business. But it's also hard to take people like CZ at their word when they say this, because every single crypto exchange that's collapsed has said this. Celsius said they were fine before they fell out. Voyager said they were fine, and then they fell out. BlockFi said they were fine, and then they fell out. And FTX said they were perfectly fine, nothing to worry about, and then they collapse. So obviously you can't trust anybody. The safest thing to do, with the most asymmetric bet to it, would be take your money, your Bitcoin, any crypto off of the exchange into self-custody. Then you're set. Then you don't have to worry about anything. And that's about what people are doing. There's been massive withdrawals of Bitcoin on Binance, the largest 24 flow ever, with almost 40,000 Bitcoin being withdrawn. So people taking control of their Bitcoin, hopefully self-custodying it in a cold storage wallet. But to add on even more of that, it's about 2,000 Bitcoin being withdrawn every hour from Binance. And this is great. For some reason, there's people complaining, saying, why are you spreading FUD? This is going to be the worst thing ever. If Binance collapses, nothing matters anymore. But that couldn't be further from the truth. If Binance is a healthy, good standing company, this won't matter. A withdraw and run on the bank for Binance, it won't matter, because they have the funds. If it does matter and they collapse, then they weren't a good business and they shouldn't be around. So either way, you win. Either Binance is good and they have no problem with this, or Binance is bad and we get rid of the bad actors. So, there's no real bad outcome to this. But it is interesting to see people like this tweeting, saying, they will attack Binance because they want to see our crypto industry brought to its knees. They want us to lose confidence in this space. That won't happen. And this is even a more tame response to this. There's people saying, don't withdraw your money. As a matter of fact, deposit your money on Binance. Help them out, please. Don't let them collapse. But if this is enough to make them collapse, then they're not a good enough business to be around. And you got people like BitBoy, the obviously the most trustworthy people in crypto, the most sane, the best, the savior of crypto, saying Binance is fine. There's a reason a lot of these crypto companies don't want the world taking a look into their books. And it's not why you think. But watching people witch hunt Binance, praying for its downfall, is the strongest case for the bottom yet. So your typical Bitcoin chill talking points, scream out to the abyss. This doesn't make sense, saying there's a reason these crypto companies don't want the world looking at their books. That doesn't make any sense. Why would they be scared? If they're backed 1-to-1 and the world looks in and says, oh wow, they're backed 1-to-1, they're a real company, then what? How is that bad for the company? What's bad is somebody coming saying, are you backed 1-to-1, Binance? And Binance saying, well, trust us. You're not allowed to look, but trust us. What's the point? That makes you look way worse than just opening up and showing them that you're backed correctly. And even down here in responses, you have Mike, Alfred, and BitBoy going back and forth, with Mike thinking a bit more sound and BitBoy thinking how he normally does. And you just see, like, this part right here. He says that it works the same way as every centralized exchange minus Coinbase and Kraken. So saying minus Coinbase and Kraken might be your first problem, because Coinbase is operating in the United States, and the way that they operate is through a trust, and you can see that they're backed 1-to-1. They have your assets, the custodial assets they have. If you Kraken, I've heard good things. People really like Kraken, don't know too much about them. But if you're taking the real good actors in the space and saying, yeah, they act like everyone else but them, that's not a really good point to make. And Mike pointing out that there's huge gaps between them in their custody design, regulator, operating models, levels of transparency, full auditability, quite the long list there. Binance is one of the least transparent large companies in the history of the planet. Consistently hide and obfuscate, wake up, which couldn't be said any better. And then he kind of contradicts himself, BitBoy here, saying, I hear you on this. I certainly agree there are transparency issues. What? To me, the most important thing is, do they have the money they say they do? And generally, I believe that answer is yes. Fake it till you make it works well in crypto. I'm not concerned with what got them there. Fake it till you pretend you have the money until what? You end up like FTX? Is that what you're trying to cheer for? You don't fake it till you make it when you're running stuff with people's money. If you are supposed to have somebody's money and you don't, you can fake it for a long time. FTX faked it for multiple years. Binance could be faking it for multiple years. Bernie Madoff faked it for multiple years. These things can take long, long times to play out. They don't just happen overnight and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, that was a scam. They can last for a long time. And the biggest part of this tweet is where it's saying, and generally, I believe that answer is yes. Why should you believe the answer is yes? When they're holding your money and your assets, why do you want to believe and hope and trust? Shouldn't they be able to show you and prove to you that you don't have to worry, especially in a time where the second biggest exchange just collapsed? They're the number one exchange. They're not going to collapse overnight. If there's a run on the bank, they probably have a lot of money that would last a long time. And people would have to continually try and take their assets off and redeem money. And that could happen. But to say that I just trust them, why? What have they done to prove to you that you can trust them? And to make matters worse of saying just trust them, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. People like Dylan LeClaire tweeted this out. I think this is somebody else's text, but he tweeted it. And there's some big things here, like them saying, let people know to get their funds off Binance. Use my tweet if you want to, or create your own. People need to know the execs are bailing, institutional capital is fleeing, and charges are coming. So that's a pretty big statement. And we can see, so execs bailing, that's never a good sign. Institutional money is dumping. We can see that here, where Jump is moving a lot of money out. They're redeemed $245 million in BUSD, 106 million the past week, 30 million in the past 24 hours. And this is what their things kind of look like. Their withdrawals here. This Jump is a big institutional kind of crypto player, and they are moving lots of money off of Binance, redeeming it. The total here would be the 245 million. So they've moved quite a bit of money, almost $250 million off of BUSD. People aren't going to trust this. They're not going to just blindly trust Binance and blindly hope that their money might one day be there. No one likes to lose money. And to make things even worse for institutional investors and normal people is Binance might be getting charged with money laundering. There's a case right here being made or talked about for the Justice Department. They're split over charging Binance, and what they would charge them with is money laundering. They are possibly looking into that. You can see right here, considering charging Binance and executives for possible money laundering and sanction violation. There's not a lot of good news here. If you're an investor, if you have your money on Binance, you don't want to hear that the entire exchange or the heads and CEO, founder, and execs might be charged with crimes. That is not going to make you feel good or safe about having your money on there. If you have any money on Binance, just take it off. It's very simple. If they collapse and you lose everything, you're really going to hate that you didn't take your money off. And if you take your money off and they don't collapse and they're perfectly fine, then you're still good. You win either way. You only lose if you decide to trust them and allow them to collapse with your money. Then you're in the worst position possible. If we can just finish up these text messages here. Goes on to say, just a heads up that a bunch of Binance stories are going to hit the tape this week. Reporters hitting me up constantly. They've confirmed leadership losses, accounting contacts have serious issues with their POR, proof of reserves that they're trying to put out. No reporter can confirm or identify the parent or ownership structure of Binance and can't track down a meaningful list of executives beyond CZ. All items and stories that are set to come out from outlets like CNBC, Bloomberg, TruthDAO. So those are big accusations. Obviously, we'll see if they play out over the next week. So that's when they say that stories are supposed to be coming out. and maybe they're big bombshells. Maybe you want to front run it so that you don't get your money stuck in there off something that you can't control. There is literally no negative to taking your money off, putting it in cold storage, and just letting it sit there. Just let everything kind of play out. Wait a few months, maybe a year, and just see how everything plays out so that at least your money and your assets are safe and you don't have to worry about a company collapsing and you losing everything. That's gonna do it for this video. As always, remember to smash the like button and subscribe. Remember to 1,000 subscribers. I'll see you guys in my next video.